So around War World II, that's when we started to pre-package things and try to make things more convenient for everybody so we could ship it off to soldiers, so we can make bread very conveniently, very easy. That is kind of where everything started taking a turn. That's why like gluten allergies, gluten sensitivities way long ago really weren't a big deal. So gluten is naturally a protein that's found in wheat, barley, and rye, and it gives dough its elastic, sticky texture. So there's two main proteins that make up gluten, gliadin and glutenin. And they allow the dough to trap carbon dioxide from yeast and rise when it's baked. And gluten provides that structure to breads and pastas, cereals, all of that. Um, and it allows wheat and flour products to maintain their shape, be crisp, provide a chewy consistency. Without gluten, pretty much baked goods just flatten out. So for some people, gluten is perfectly safe to eat. However, what has happened over time is that this this wonder molecule gluten has become an additive in everything that we eat. So we have so many processed packaged goods that gluten is now it's in your ketchup, it's in all this stuff just to make it thicker or change its consistency or to make it more airy or whatever the goal is. Like gluten can do that for people. So what has happened is we have taken something that wasn't bad and we've adulterated it and overstimulated our system with it. So when anytime you overwhelm your body with the same sort of input over and over again, that's when you can develop an immune response to it. So over time, because we have ingested so much gluten, then people develop a gluten sensitivity. And that is because of the actual immune system response that happens when you eat gluten. So you're actually creating an inflammatory response inside your gut whenever that happens. There's a couple different factors here that make that a possibility for people. One is genetics. There's a genetic susceptibility for a lot of people. Celiac disease runs in family. Some people are genetically predisposed to have that immune response. I'm one of those. My son's one of those. Gluten is just not our friend. Another factor is your gut health, your microbiome. An unhealthy gut microbiome has an impaired intestinal barrier. So what happens is it allows undigested gluten peptides to enter the bloodstream because you have that leaky gut condition and it triggers that immune reaction. Other conditions like SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or other gut infections that cause increased intestinal permeability make it easier for gluten to be absorbed into the bloodstream, causing that immune response. It can also cross-react with other foods and continue to have like a reactive hypersensitivity. If you do not digest your food well, so if I've done a stool test and we found rare vegetable fibers in your stool, and we know that you are not chewing your food well, you are not digesting your food well, then I like to take gluten out because problems digesting gluten are going to exist because of the type of molecule that it's in. And you need digestive enzymes to break it down fully. If you have a pH in your stomach that is not acidic, then you're going to have trouble breaking down gluten. It's going to cause a reactive immune response within that gut barrier. Other factors like just if you're eating high processed food, if you have a history of high antibiotic use, you're going to disrupt GI balance and microbiome. So I like to take gluten out. If you have chronic stress impacts the gut barrier. It impacts your immune tolerance. So cortisol is going to be elevated, going to have an immune response, going to have digestive issues. So just, I know that's a long answer to a very simple question about gluten and like, what is it about gluten that is problematic? But I think there's multiple reasons that most of us need to take gluten out of our diet for a period of time to allow it to heal. And if you do not have the genetics for celiacs or the genetics for a gluten sensitivity, you can add it back in moderation. If you add it back in full force, like you were previously, you're just going to cause another immune response if your gut barrier isn't healed, if your gut microbiome isn't healthy. So that's why we want to take these things out that we know are irritants and know aggravate, take them out for a good 3 months, make sure the gut barrier is healed, that immune system response is down, autoimmunity is down, inflammation's down, and then we can add it back in and see how your body responds. And I think that's the biggest thing there. So did that answer your question?
Yes.